Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about good clinical practices. I have over 35 years experience in this industry, both working as a sponsor, as a CRO, and an independent consultant. See there the various positions I've held, working with GCP all the way around internationally, doing lectures now worldwide on GCP, and I do audits at sites and vendors as well at this point in time. Then the objectives for today, we're going to talk about the goals of good clinical practice. What are the goals? And we want to remember here always, what is the mission of the FDA? Mission of FDA is to protect the rights, the safety, and the well-being of the subjects and to ensure compliance. That's why we go out to monitor, to ensure compliance, so that the data that we collect is going to be credible, to allow the regulatory agencies to assess whether we've met our hypothesis. Is this product safe and effective to be put on the market, and then later to stay on the market? So we'll talk about the various regulations then that affect drug, device, and biologic investigational products that are related to good clinical practice. We'll also recognize that there's a mutual accountability here. It's not all on one side. The sponsor doesn't do it all. There are a lot of responsibilities for each of the stakeholders, as I call them. That would be the sponsor, and CRO would come under that sponsor, obviously, the investigator, the IRB or ethics committee overseas, and the regulatory authority. That would be the FDA here in the States. We're going to apply those principles that we call ICH GCP. ICH is a guidance in the United States. It's not our law, but they describe things like good clinical practice in much better language than the Code of Federal Regulations, which is our law. The CFR is really written more for legal purposes. It's not a day-to-day friendly clinical language that we can work with. So we tend to use the ICH, even though it's not our law. It's a very good guidance, and it's promoted by the FDA to ensure compliance. It's a friendly way to look at how should we be doing the work we do. And if we don't do it that way, we will be cited by the FDA, even though they say they don't use ICH. They will find one of the citations in the Code of Federal Regulations, which basically refers to one of those in ICH. So what is the definition? What is GCP? We won't ask you each to memorize this, but it's a day-to-day living document. It's not something that we sign off, we know GCP, and put it in the desk drawer and don't bother to use it until we file our PMA or our NDA. It's how we work day to day, right from the very beginning of time. The first day the person comes on board, so the one-year person in Kelly's group will learn this GCP, and probably the one with 25 years is teaching it to everyone else. It should be instilled in all of your SOPs, standard operating procedures. It is now considered to be an international, ethical, and scientific quality standard for everything we do, everything that we do. It starts right out with designing our protocol. It moves into conducting the clinical study. That might be from a sponsor perspective. It can be from the investigator perspective. How do we run the day-to-day sequence of that trial? How are we recording everything? That's going to be whether it be paper or electronic. It's how it's recorded at the site. It would be if we're using paper CRFs or electronic CRFs. And how do we report that data? That's going to be any of our perhaps SAEs, serious adverse events, reported to the FDA, reporting to the IRBs. How the sites are reporting adverse events to their IRB. How do they report them to the sponsor? And when I mention sponsor, that could be the CRO if that contract is written for that purpose. It's going to involve the participation of everyone on the study. It will include the patients and how they perform. It will be, for example, how they write the diaries, quality of life surveys, any of those kinds of instruments. Compliance with this standard gives the public assurance that we know what we're doing that we're protecting their rights, their safety, and their well-being. If we keep highlighting the fact that we have these rules and regulations, the hope is that people will not be fearful of joining our clinical trials. They'll know that they're really not treated like guinea pigs somehow, that we do care about every one of them, and there is a protection for them.